Good morning. Good morning. This is Roxy B. Rocker, and we're with Embracing What's Possible with Roxy. Today, we are continuing our employment segment, and today I have the most incredible Jess Jarmo of Jess Jarmo Career Coaching. I am so excited for us to have such a great dialogue around career coaching. My first really industry part of my field was in employment, and I was an employment specialist. I did a lot of roles in that, and I did a lot of job development. I even had a career bank inside my house where I was opening up the phone book and calling employers and asking them if they would hire. That was back in the day, many, many years ago. But Jess is going to tell us all sorts of things about how she does career coaching in 2025. And I cannot wait for us to have a very interesting conversation around employment because I haven't been in the field in a long time. Welcome, Jess. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks so much for having me, Roxy. It's so nice to see you. Appreciate your
No.
time. I'm Jess Jarmo, Neurodivergent Career Coaching. And what I do is I have a business, and we have a team of 8 right now, which is pretty amazing. And we help people who are neurodivergent, so dyslexia, ADHD, anxiety, autism, choose the right job, find the right job, job sustainability, and long term planning.
Wow, that's a lot.
A lot of
That's
fun
a
stuff.
lot of goodies.
Yes, as well as neurodivergent support too. But
Can you explain to I'm from the 70s when I was diagnosed, and I don't understand or always know the term neurodivergent. When I was growing up, that term was learning disabled.
yes.
And autism wasn't really talked about when probably a lot of people were autistic. So can you explain the term neurodivergent
Mhm.
and how does that differ from learning disability?
Yeah, so neurodivergent is somebody who their brain works differently than somebody who has a typical brain. So we think differently, and we might have different challenges, but we also have some really amazing strengths as well. So that could be autism, dyslexia, ADHD, anxiety. There's more as well, but basically somebody who is not neurotypical.
Mm. Oh, maybe that would be a lot of us.
It can be. It can be. You can get, um, deep into it. But yeah, it can reach a lot of different people. And, for disabilities, like I was born in the 80s and grew up in the 80s and 90s, and neurodivergent wasn't anything that I grew up with either. It's very new.
Mhm.
So it was, a disability, it was a learning disability if
Mhm.
you are dyslexic, ADHD. Um, and we had, we're going back to our childhood. I remember having, being in resource rooms or special ed rooms. And now it's a little different. I'm not as familiar with those things, but I know that they're
Mhm.
called different. They're not called like um, special ed rooms anymore, I believe.
When I grew up, it was the pull-out system.
Yes.
Yes, we were pulled out and we had to go to specialized classrooms to teach us specialized things or something like that. Yes, it is very different now. But let's go back to employment.
Yes.
Um, I want to be curious, what are is a day in the life of I used to be a job developer. So my day in the life would have been I was networking with community, I was doing disability education, or I was doing one-on-one job coaching with a client. So can you walk us through what that might look like for clients?
Yeah, definitely. So we work with our clients one on one. weekly. So typically, it's an hour. Could be a little bit more of FaceTime, depending on um, what they're doing. So if they're interviewing, they have an interview, they may have a little bit more support, or if they need more support, we'll give them more support. So we work with our clients one on one. So we are really seeing what they need. Like, where are they? Do they need support in finding the right job, or do they know what job they want, type of thing? So
Mm.
choosing the job and then finding. Um, so we work with them there, and then we also have material that is supportive. So we break down certain tasks or things that they need to do,
Oh.
like um, how to apply to jobs or have a job search strategy. I'm also dyslexic and ADHD, so it's really helpful when I have a great strategy and it's broken down into smaller pieces. So just for like a simple analogy, like if you say to somebody, do the dishes, that could mean so many different things, right? It could
Mhm.
be, do I need to put the dishes away? Do I have to put them in there? Am I doing all of them? Do I need to dry them? Am I putting the bowls away first? For some people, it's really helpful if you dive deeper. Like, all right, well, there is, I really just need you to put the dishes away. And it would be great if you could put the bowls away first, because then we have to put the plates on this side, or, just diving deep. And we do that with, our structure and material. Um, I also work with colleges. I actually was at MIT Career Fair
Mm.
a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to a couple of events at um, Mass Bay, and I have another college I'm aligning with. But I also do public speaking, events, things like that, to connect with the community.
What are you educating them on?
Educating the community on,
Mhm.
or okay. Um, so educating them on neurodivergent and how to support people at work. Um,
Yep.
so as well as working with students on how to choose the right job.
Ooh, let's talk about that. What do you know, for me, when I was a job developer, and I still am like this in my heart of hearts, is that I deeply believe in the passion work. It's just who I am and why I feel like in self-employment has been the best thing for me because I get to work on my passions, I get to be creative, I get to have that. And when I had jobs that I thrived in, it was also me working in my passion. So for me, I like to encourage people in that. But I think you have a different perspective. Can you talk about that? Or why don't you think passion places are the important way?
Good question. I love this
I want to
question.
have a dialogue on this one.
I love this question. So it's not that I don't think passion can be helpful. Definitely, if you have a passion, that's great. But I also think that, we have clients that come to us and are just like, well, I'm not really passionate about XYZ. And there's so many different factors that go into finding a job. So you can have a passion with, riding horses, but that's not really what you want to do for a long-term job, or, whatever it is. Um, there's other things that we go through on, like, choosing the right job is, salary, location. Um, do you want to work with people? Do you not want to work with people? Do you want a
Mm.
combination? And this really relates to your neurodivergence as well. Like, do I enjoy being around people? You know, or, do I get excited about being around people, or is it too much and it's an overload, and I really need to, gain my energy around just, doing my work, type of thing, if that makes sense.
You really break it down. So for you, the dive deep is everything is broken down. And my word for it is I call it digestible steps that we have to digest everything. Got to make it into smaller chunks because then it's easier to digest it.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
I
Definitely.
like that. But you really break it down to, okay, do you could you thrive in a noisy environment? Could you thrive with, that you need your own quiet space, that you don't really want to work with people, but you love people and you will enjoy being social. So you really break it down to, what are you looking for? What pieces do they need to make that puzzle fit for them?
Exactly. And a lot of us have had, not so good situations or bad situations in work environments. So you can kind of see when we start breaking these down, like, oh, that's why that job wasn't a good fit for me. Or that's why that manager, wasn't a good fit for me. And we also break it down even further of asking questions in that interview to make sure that that manager, whoever you're working with, is a good fit or that culture. So, yeah.
Okay, I like storytelling. Employers were very cruel to me, even in the disability arena here in Massachusetts. Cruel.
Oh,
I worked at a place that was called something inclusion. I'm not telling you the rest of the name. And it was at a university. You want to go there? Go there. And I wasn't fitting into the mold. And things were for the government. And I was made fun of and mocked by the employer. And then because she got to mock me, the employees who got to work with me got to mock me and make fun of me too. So I was abused at work. And I should have fit into the culture because it was community inclusion. And yet I didn't. The manager was not a good manager. She was very set in her ways. And so with her being set in her ways, she just wanted things this way, this way, this way. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. Um, One of the stories was I practiced a ton and I came in one day and I did it perfectly. I was like on point. And she goes, what did you do? Did you steal from your, we'll call her Stephanie. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, oh, you must have like stole from her. And I said, no, I'm dedicated and I want this. And today is a good day. And so instead of encouraging and being supportive, I was told that I did something wrong yet again. And one day I was in her room, we were trying to work on something, and she goes, what is wrong with you? And I said, no, I think the question really is, what is wrong with the situation? We're sitting here in the community inclusion space, and I'm not included. I said, that's the bigger problem. And I'm told that I'm wrong, and I'm told that I don't do it well or right or your way every single day. How is somebody supposed to feel when we're supposed to be including people? So I don't know if anything would have worked. I had to hire the union, and it was a horrible situation. So I like storytelling. Do you have a good story on how something didn't work for a candidate, and then maybe what has worked successfully for that candidate?
yeah, definitely. So we had a particular candidate who came to us, and she was devastated that she got fired. Like she had just graduated college, she got this great job, and um, it was a similar, toxic manager environment, but also her ADHD, time management, organization, and her anxiety of just trying to do good and please this manager was all getting in the way. And she just couldn't function to, get the things done that, or, in a timely manager that our manager wanted to do it. Um, so I, I'm on the phone with her and I'm actually crying too because I can feel her pain because I've gone through the same thing. I've been fired before, and I'm also ADHD, dyslexic, and was a toxic work environment as well. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna, work together, and we're gonna, get you the right job. And she ended up getting a job after 8 weeks. Like she was incredible. Like it's so amazing how you just need somebody to believe in you. Um,
Hmm.
to be able to be, so successful, like a powerhouse, this girl.
Mhm.
She was so charismatic, very empathetic, just, wanted to do good and have an impact on her job and her teammates and her manager. And she was just amazing. And the 8 weeks is pretty unreal. Typically, it takes a little longer just to emphasize that. We do help, some
Mhm.
people pretty quickly, some people take longer, but yeah, she was just amazing for sure.
And then can you tell us about um a client that has struggled, or can you tell us about a client that might have not, maybe haven't been, wasn't the right fit, and was that because of the disability, or what do you think would be the challenge of maybe that client not kind of fitting into the program that you're working on? Like, sometimes you might have some challenges, and how do you overcome that in your company?
Okay, so I'm understanding you correctly. So somebody who's not a good fit for a company or not a good fit in a job.
No, you working with them to try to get them. I'm trying to ask you about where people with disabilities. So sometimes maybe there might be a challenge there,
Mhm.
right? Or something has come up that maybe didn't work so well. Can you describe an experience in your company that didn't work so well with people that might have neurodivergent or learning disabilities?
Yeah, good question. So we have had people who we've had conversations with, and when we're having conversations, so we have a strategy call with anybody who's interested in working with us, and we make sure it's a good fit for us and it's a good fit for them. So we'll ask a series of questions. They can ask questions. But in these conversations, we will find that, there's certain people who are not a good fit. So sometimes we'll get parents who call in, they really want us to help their young adult, you know, kid with finding the right job or choosing the right job, whatever it is. And then we'll have a conversation with them and they're like, no, we don't want to do this. So we're not going to pressure people into having this service because it's not going to work if they're, if somebody's not committed and they're not going to be able to follow through. So, that would be one. I would say another one is somebody who is on the lower end of needs. Like we've had somebody, can't remember the term, but um, um, if they can't have good, I mean, um, what
We're
is
in a
it
disability show. We
called?
can talk openly on our disability show about disability issues.
Yeah.
We're in a
So,
disability show. This is a safe space. I
yeah,
just want
yeah.
to share that. Yeah,
I
this is
just
as
can't remember the word. My neurodivergent isn't, I
oh,
can't pull it from my
intellectual
brain.
disability or maybe communication barriers.
Um, yeah, communication barriers. There's a certain
Mm,
term for it where
I know.
um, can't talk as well, or don't, their disability doesn't allow them to talk as much, type of thing, or at all. I forget what it's called.
Oh, it's like nonverbal.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's
nonverbal.
different variations, but if you're really, on the lower end of that, it's going to be hard for us to, have the
Well, and
conversation.
you're working with a specific niche. You probably aren't the right place for somebody who has lower level intellectual disabilities
Yeah,
or significant autism. There's different levels of in the disability world, there's different levels of all of us who are in a framework, because disability is such a broad word,
yeah,
right? So in the neurodivergent levels, you maybe work with people who in our terminology would be more higher functioning. Would that be
yeah,
correct? Right.
correct. Yep,
So you're not niching into lower functioning people. Um, and maybe they have an AAC device, which is an AugCom, augmented communication. Would that be helpful if somebody had that? And could you work with a client like that? Or that still would be difficult?
I guess I'd have to learn more about that. I have
Mm.
had somebody that I've worked with when I was in recruitment who was deaf, and
Oh.
I ended up helping her get a job. So there is devices. It sounds like a similar device where they type in information and at least it was with this person, and then the device, read it back to me in a so does that make
Yeah,
sense?
that was a relay system. The Oddcom, I like talking and educating us on our show. Um, an Oddcom device is kind of different. They were picture boards for people who had lower functioning because people always thought that there was nothing going on in their mind. They couldn't speak, they didn't know it. But the picture boards in the beginning got them to point things out, and then they knew, oh, they could cognitively perceive this. But an Ogcom now can be actually on your phone, and they're typing things in via the pictures to make sentences. So a relay machine is somebody else's, or they're typing onto that machine, and then an interpreter or somebody else is writing that back, or you can do back and forth communication. The Ogcom, the end user, that person who might have lower functioning, is learning how to use the pictures and type out information on the screen. But no,
Okay.
this is cool. This is an interesting conversation.
Yeah,
Someday we'll get into assistive technology and we'll talk about all the devices, but not today.
sounds good.
Just I'm loving this conversation, and i'm
Me too.
i'm hoping that you're appreciating that, from the former job developer who still loves employment is popping in here a little bit trying to get some information. What I would love to do is hear some cool tips, some interesting things that might be helpful. Somebody's out there looking for a job, they're struggling, and they just don't know what to do. Not about selling the company, but about coming up with some ideas and some concepts that might be really supportive to people. And then I want you to promote the company.
Okay. So some fun tips is um, networking. So I know that networking can be really hard for some people, but you can start with just people that you already know. If you're looking for a job, if you already know what you're looking for, and networking with people, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, Facebook, calling people, texting people, emailing people, and having conversations with them, asking them about themselves. So when you're networking, it's all about them and how awesome they are. And you want to learn as much as you can from this person because you want to do something like them. Um, and you also, when you're in interviews, another fun tip is make sure you're asking questions at the end. You're like we kind of talked about before, asking questions that is important to you in your new job. So you can ask culture questions. Um, you can ask questions about how that manager manages the team, so you can know if they're a good fit for you. And also another good one is managers just love like, how can I help you in this position to make your job easier? Um, so it really bridges that connection to that you're actually here to help them and improve. Um, so so yeah, those are a couple of tips.
Can,
Um,
can I interject on the
yeah.
networking piece? I think about networking all the time. I've been networking since I was 14 and a half, 15 years old. Um, and one of the things that sometimes pop into my brain is, um, I feel like we also need to teach people with disabilities how to network. I think it is something that's never been taught. I think because of so much of the isolation, the exclusion, and the challenges in the disability world, that it's an afterthought. Well, why are we going to teach them how to do that? What would be beneficial for that? But it's so beneficial. And you're talking about what we used to call in the vocational world market research. where you're actually going. The terminology is so funny, where you're actually going and you're knocking on doors of the people you're doing maybe sometimes interventional informational interviews into the field.
Yep.
But I think people should be networking and there should be networking parties for people with disabilities. So sometimes in my brain, I'm going to go and figure out how to make that happen. So people know how to feel comfortable. Or if there is a quieter area and some people might need like the silent room, how there could be communication that could actually happen differently. And how do we educate and break down the societal norms on networking, on interviewing skills, and how do we do things differently? Because I don't think we as people with disabilities always had to adapt into their world. Sometimes I think they need to adapt into our world. And that's the fight that I want.
Yeah. So we definitely break down those steps too, right? So what do I actually say to this person? What is the message that I send if I'm reaching out verbally or through an email?
Hmm.
So definitely breaking it down. We have conversations and, mock
Hmm.
conversations of what are
Hmm.
you going to say? Because it can be very intimidating.
Hmm.
And frustrating if you don't hear back as well. I think sometimes we take it personal that, oh, I reached out to this person, they didn't get back to me. And having that conversation of, well, they might be busy, or, breaking down the why too, because I think sometimes that anxiety, overcomes us. Um,
Hmm.
but but yeah, for sure.
Definitely. I hope this was a good conversation for you.
Yes, I appreciate it so much, Roxy. It's so nice to hang out with you and see your face.
It's exciting to have a show that is all around disability education. And I'm um, glad that I don't have to be structured anymore into boxes and I have the freedom to, do things around leadership or networking and then this is October, this is employment month. It's
Yeah.
disability employment month. So it's exciting to have, is there something, and then I want you to really tell people how to get a hold of you, but is there something out there that you feel for people who have disabilities, people who are neurodivergent like you and I, that they need to consider and think about? What is that thing?
Can you give me a little bit more information, like a thing to think about for their career or?
You do job development. We're talking about employment, for
Yeah,
employment.
I would say
And the great reminder telling me with my fast brain to break it down.
yes. Yes, definitely. I think that's another tip, that it's okay to ask questions and
Hmm.
be able to break it down, and having, like you said, having other people support you or conform.
Hmm.
So I would say, something that people need to have is, I think that we get stuck on that we have to have this one job forever and we have to be successful in it. Um, and it's okay if after a few years, or even if when you get into it after college, you're like, oh, this isn't what I want to do at all. What was I thinking? All the things go through your head. It's okay. You're never too young or too old to switch
Hmm.
careers or try something new. When I was building my business, I was actually working part time as a nanny, and now I was able to quit and be able to have my business. But you know we always see the pictures on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you don't know what everybody else is kind of going through. So everybody has their own things, so I think sometimes we compare each other too. And yeah, it's okay to change your mind or your career, or even your passions, right? So yeah.
Fantastic. Tell the audience we're international. I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh,
The
awesome.
show is not just in the United States, it's in multiple countries. We're on Roku and YouTube and something called Strim. And we're on the Prospera Network. So, can you tell our audience where they can find you, how they can get a hold of you, and thank you
Yeah,
for being
absolutely.
here. Thank
Yeah.
you for talking with me about employment. So tell
Oh, you're
us.
welcome. All right. So I'm Jess Jarmo, Neurodivergent Career Coaching. And you can find me at jessjarmo.com, which is JESSJARM as in Mary O.com. And we have a whole bunch of information on there. You can also book a call if you're interested in learning more about us and if this is a good fit for you. And our email is support@jessjarmo.com.
Fantastic. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, today we were talking about neurodivergent and job development and career counseling, which was such a great segment. Next week, next time you'll get to hear from one of my supervisors when I was a disability program navigator. We're going to go down a little history lane and we're going to talk all things government, employment, and disability education. So, have a great week and thank you for being here. I'm embracing what's possible, heart open wide, where fear used to whisper, now love is my guide. I'm not just surviving, I'm setting the pace, wearing my story with shimmering grace. From shadows to spotlight, I rise and I sing, embracing what's possible, changes everything. This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.